I get the honor and pleasure next to introduce our keynote speaker. And it's really interesting because I'm looking at Angel Rich right now, and we have a little bit of a history. Just like all the men and women that were on this stage, that's actually where I met you first. For 13 and a half years, I used to work at Prudential Financial in New York City. And I remember Angel doing a pitch competition. You went to Hampton University, and she was doing it in front of all the executives and her team. And I knew at that moment that there was some spark in Angel. Angel worked at Prudential for several years. She can tell you a little bit about the story later. And now she's the founder of CreditRich, which is now evaluated, the valuation's at $1.5 billion. Billion. Let's go. It is my honor and pleasure to invite Angel on the stage for her to share her journey and from all of us to learn from it. So, Angel.
Let's give another round of applause for Seema. Yes. Well, hello, everybody. Before I get started, I would love for everyone to do one thing for me. Raise your hand if you would like to die broke. Anybody? No? Some people say yes. Some people say no. But the answer is not important. What is important is your ability to make a choice. As a fourth-generation Washingtonian that graduated with $180,000 of debt, I understand firsthand that not everybody has the opportunity to make that choice. So imagine if you were in high school and you had the opportunity to understand your future. You had the opportunity for somebody to come to you and say, there's a 3-digit number that is going to make or break your life. There's a 3-digit number that is going to determine whether or not you can purchase a home. There's a 3-digit number that is going to determine whether or not you will be able to finish school or whether or not your child will be able to finish school. And I'm sure all of you know what that 3-digit number is. Your credit score. As somebody whose credit score used to be 444, like I was trying to be Jay-Z's album. That was my actual credit score number. With all of that debt, I had to take a step back and understand what I needed to do to not only get out of that debt, but to help other people not have to experience the same pitfall that I went through. So, I just sort of reverse engineered the Fair Asset Credit Reporting System and came up with the algorithm for the credit scoring system. But I didn't just start there. I didn't just get there. How did I get there? As Seema mentioned, in my idol, I mean literally my idol, when I first met this woman, I was like, who is she? How can I be like her? And I just went on a mission to be as close to her as possible, okay? And she will tell you, I did. I really did. So I am a former global market research analyst for Prudential Financial. I hail from the Hampton University, the real HU. I know we're in DC. My husband went to Howard, so I like to needle him. But while I was at Hampton, I will briefly tell you that I won Goldman Sachs Portfolio Challenge. I came up with the algorithm for the stock market. We did positive 2% while the market did negative 2%. I could have easily made a ton of money off of becoming a stock analyst, but that's not what I wanted to do. After I did that, I said, who would ever figure this out? There needs to be some type of game to allow people to live out their financial life for them to be able to understand their financial future. And that was my entree into sort of the entrepreneurship world. Right after I won Goldman Sachs Portfolio Challenge, I also won Prudential's case competition. And that is where we first encountered the beautiful queen here, Seema. For Prudential's case competition, my team came up with the idea of marketing life insurance online as well as to youth. I know that seems very simplistic now, but it was groundbreaking at the time. They told us that they would never get rid of the agent. Who would buy financial products online? And why did we need to focus on youth? Because people did not care about money until they were about to retire. We sold that plan to Prudential my senior year of college, and that is how I was able to get my job at Prudential. And I was in Forbes the first time when I was 22. I share that story to say that there are some people in the audience, as well as some people that have presented, where the vision is so far out that people in front of you might not know. You might have the top company in your industry telling you, what are you talking about? And you need to ignore all of that. You need to dream ridiculously. You know what God placed on your heart. So you need to follow that. Do not be dismayed by what other people try to tell you. I don't care how large of an incumbent they are. From there, I made the company a ton of money. You know, my last year, I made them $6 billion, changing around problem resolution standards. I became the author of the African American Financial Experience Study, the reason that Black people are in life insurance commercials, and SEMA was so gracious to build a multicultural marketing department that just completely elevated the company to just new heights that I could go on and on and on about, which is why I would love her for the rest of my life. So after we did all of that, and I decided to go off and venture off on my own. And I created the first financial literacy mobile game, and it was called Credit Stacker. It was quite ingenious for its time. We grew it to the #1 education app in 14 countries, top 5 in 40 countries, and eventually led me to a $350 million acquisition offer, in which I got in 2019. At this point in time, I was in Beverly Hills when I got this offer, and I went to go see a mentor of mine. He's worth about $60 billion. He's the founder of a gas station. And so it takes like 2 hours to drive up the hill to this man's house. You like stop at a lake on the way to this man's house, okay? It's crazy. And I get to the door, and I say, how much of this do you own? And he said, I don't know, how far can you see? And I said, I thought so. Okay? And I still have that as my vision board on my goal list. And so I get to talking to him, and I tell him about the acquisition offer that I just received, which was a very real acquisition offer. Lawyers were present. It was extremely real. And I asked him if he thought I should take it. And he spent the next hour talking about everything but my question. And so finally, I said, can I please get an answer to my question? Like, the sun's going down. And he said, Angel, it takes the same amount of time to make $1 million as it does 100 million, as it does 1 billion. So why not focus on the billions? And I said, So this man tossed my $350 million acquisition offer to the side as if I presented him with Lincoln pennies. And I came off that mountain, and I was speechless much of the car ride. I didn't really even know how to fully process it. I came back home to DC. I met with my sister and another friend, and I had this idea for CreditRich that had been in the back of my mind. And I said, how can I make $1 billion? How can I make $1 billion? It became so serious to me. So I met with my sister at a Denny's on Bladensburg Road, and I presented her the idea. And my sister, who was actually here this week, my sister is London Ward with Snob Nails. Some of you all might have seen her. So my sister says, excuse me, why aren't you doing this? And that's all I needed to hear. Now, granted, I was already internationally known, named the next Steve Jobs by Forbes, got a $350 million offer on the table. I mean, the whole world knows me as the financial literacy chick and having this credit stacker game. And I just didn't know like how I was going to transition, but I knew that I really needed to do this company. So many of you are like, where you been, Angel? I purposely disappeared. And now I have reappeared as a fintech phoenix. So we decided to create CreditRich. CreditRich is an AI fintech app that rounds up users' spare change to pay their bills intelligently and optimize their credit score. Now, this time around, I did it with the intention of building a billion-dollar company. I'm going to repeat that again. I did it with the intention of building a billion-dollar company. Are you all familiar with Jack and the Beanstalk? One of the most important lessons that I think people miss in the story about Jack and the Beanstalk is once he climbed up the beanstalk, once he got close to the giant, he was then presented with an opportunity of golden eggs as well as the golden hen. You have to not only position yourself, but you have to have the guts to take the eggs and to take the golden hen. Nobody is going to tap you on your shoulder and suddenly just hand you a golden hen and say, you look like you were in need of golden eggs. That is not going to happen. You have to grab the bull by the horns. And that is what I decided to do this time around. I decided to kick the ladder to the ground, figure out where the biggest building was, get to know the doorman, and hop on the elevator and head to the penthouse. So, how did I do that? Well, you all might have heard of a little company in the credit industry known as Experian. It just might be the top company in the credit industry. So, I emailed Experian. I said, hey, I have this idea for a partnership, and I really want to co-invent this with you. Obviously, especially as minorities, we're taught so often to keep things to ourselves, to not partner, and all this rigmarole. That's cool, but I'm after $1 billion. Okay? So I emailed Experian. Experian has never partnered in a strategic partnership with another tech company. If you go on Credit Karma right now, you will not find Experian. We are the first technology company to partner with Experian, and we are the first Black company to form a strategic partnership with any of the credit bureaus. That is how you build a $1 billion company. From there, we were doing so well, I said, well, shoot, let me try this again. So we met with Visa. Visa says, hey, would you like to be a neobank? I usually don't even share that. I share that to this audience to say, I almost said no. I didn't even know what a neobank was. I wasn't even familiar with it. But I had the guts and the grit to say yes. I said, what is the worst that could happen? My mother always taught me, you say yes to something, what's the worst that can happen? You end up right where you are. Okay, so I ended up failing to start a bank. It's not a bad way to go out. So I said yes. And now we are proud to have an international contract with Visa as the first Black woman-owned neobank in the middle of disrupting the payments industry. And when I say we're disrupting it, oh, we're disrupting it. Oh, it's serious. And we are now, yes, over $1.5 billion at a $1.87 billion valuation. And did I mention that I still own 78% of the company? So that makes me what? A billionaire. Thank you all for your time, and I hope you dream ridiculously.
Talk about making bold moves. What? That was like the best thematic that could really show the example of what this week is all about. Angel, thank you so much. Can we take a quick picture? Come on, Rachel. Where is Sean?